Okay, hi everyone. Good afternoon. This is Leslie from AlphaESS. I'm the host today. So welcome to Alpha Show. You are visiting the Alpha Show cooperated by AlphaESS and Solaric Philippines. So today we are going to have a live demonstration show about the SMILE5 installation. And before that, we need to go through the every detailed information about how the SMILE5 look, how can it work, and how does it actually work and look like. So today we're gonna have three parts, three sections. The first section will bring by Irish, which came from AlphaESS, who will give you the general introduction about the SMILE5. And then the Joe, the engineer from Solaric, who will give you the live demonstration. He will give you how the precise instruction about installing a SMILE5 in your home. And then we will have Kevin from AlphaESS and Jade, our VP from Solaric Philippines, will join for a roundtable. And that session, we will challenge each other for some marketing and other general questions like how Philippines look back at the SMILE5 and how could SMILE5 sparkling in Philippine market. So during the whole process, you could raise your question in the bottom of the of your screen. You will see a Q&A section. You could click that and ask your question there. But if you're not asking a question, you are just simply checking with each other, you could just click the check just next to the row, just next to the Q&A and the poll, and then you could have a chat with each other, including other audience and all the panelists and the hosts in that chat section.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. Can all our audience see my screen sharing? Okay, great. So let me start the introduction first. Okay, so today we are going to show you a hybrid lithium battery system called SMILE5, manufactured by AlphaESS. Some of you might haven't heard about the company AlphaESS yet, so I will give you a very brief introduction. Alpha is a manufacturer of lithium storage solution range from residential to commercial and utility. We are founded in 2012, so almost 8 years old now. Our headquarters is in Nantong, China. In Nantong, we also have a factory that is over 10,000 square meters. And we have 6 subsidiaries all around the world in Suzhou, China, South Korea, UK, Italy, Germany, and Australia. Our footprint has stepped into over 50 countries. Now let's have a look at our superstar today, SMILE5, the 5 kilowatt bestseller. Why call it SMILE5? It comes from the first letter of the 5 features of this system: self-sufficient, modular battery, intelligent control, long lifespan, and essential load protected. Now I will give you a very detailed introduction about all these features. Firstly, self-sufficient. The main purpose of this storage system is to allow you to maximize your PV self-consumption and give you backup. A lot of you might already have or know about the on-grid system. The PV panel generates electricity to power your load, and when you have less load or extra energy from PV, it will go into the grid, or you are just limited to the PV generation. But we want net of them. Store the extra energy into battery and then use it at night hour. In this way, you'll make full advantage of all the PV generation and maximize your PV self-consumption. And sometimes when the blackout or brownout happens with the battery, you are able to back up or protect your important essential load with the battery. So that's why we say it has the self-sufficient function. And we can see that the system is modular design, so same as the battery. The battery we have here, we have 3 types of the battery for this system. Their difference lies at the capacity and the size, range from 2.87, 5.73, and 10.1 kilowatt hour. Each system, you can connect from 1 to 6 units of the module in the same system. That means with a 5 kilowatt system, you are able to have a battery capacity range from 2.87 to 60.6 kilowatt hour. That I think can cover almost 99% of the demand in the market. Next is the intelligent control. With the product you buy, you will also give a lifelong free access to the monitoring platform. And a lot of product has the monitoring. So what's our unique selling point? I will show you some of the snapshot here. Our monitoring platform, we have a different type of account, like installer account, end user account, guest account, service account, etc. This is an example of an installer account. With the installer account, you're able to have all the system you installed under the same account, and you're able to do the basic data monitoring, like here, the PV, load, battery, grid, and also current data and history data. And you are able to see the to do the system setting, see your installation record, do the data analyze, etc. Due to the time limit, so we will just skip over all details, but leave your installers to explore it later. And as mentioned, we also have the end user account. That's for the buyer. So this is the interface of an end user account. The difference is for end user, we give them the basic data they want to see, the information, including the system information, power diagram, statistic diagram, and the profit diagram. Some of the buyer or the user, they might have the limited information about the electrical product. So we won't give them the right to do the system setting, but leave that job to our installers. And these are all the important or the essential information that the end user want to see. The end user account is same as our guest account. So they're able to see how their system running and perform. Next, let's have a look at the long lifespan feature. The SMILE5 has very long lifespan because of the chemistry that we choose. It's called lithium iron phosphate, LFP. LFP has the longest calendar life and better safety performance, which you can check online or search at batteryuniversity.com. And the cell we use is metal can, which also has the longest calendar life. It's better than the other cells like the small cylindrical polymer pouch and the plastic cell. So Jade, from a buyer perspective, what do you think about SMILE5?
From a buyer perspective, I think it would be really great because it's a system. So first of all, for those of you who are in areas that commonly get power outages, rolling brownouts, this is really good for you. And at the same time, it does grid tie, so it can push back any excess to if your batteries are full. For those of you who don't have budget yet and you just want to get the grid tie inverter first, you can set that up and you can monitor your consumption of your Meralco, you can monitor your exports, and then later on when you have budget, you can add 1, 2, 3, up to 6 batteries. So Iris, if you go back a couple slides, there were 3 different battery sizes that people can choose right here. So depending on your budget and your requirements for power during power outages, you can see we have a small one that's 2.8 kilowatt hours, a medium one that's 5.73, and then the large one, which is 10.1 kilowatt hours. So all of these are lithium iron phosphate, and all of them can do 90% depth of discharge. So keep in mind, this is a 10-year warranty product, which you can do 90% depth of discharge. So talagang walang comparison to compared to lead acid, local purchase Motolite, or any kind of lead acid battery. This is really something totally different. Sabi ni Mike, this is the new normal. Okay, and then Iris, if you go a couple slides forward to the different battery technologies.
Yes.
One more. Yeah, here, this one. So you can see the LiFePO PO4, which is the technology that Alpha uses. It's
exactly.
It's in a metal can. So this has a 20-year calendar life. It costs a little bit more expensive, but it is way more reliable, and it doesn't have issues like fire, or when it has impact, let's say you kick it, you crash it with a car because it's in your garage. It doesn't have a tendency to explode. It's not like the Tesla, which uses the NMC technology that you see on the right side of the screen. Do you have anything to say, Mike, about the LiFePO PO4?
Well, the LiFePO PO4, we did a lot of studies on the batteries. It is the safest chemistry you could use for lithium batteries, because if you overcharge it, it doesn't blow up. If you drop it, it doesn't blow up. If you pierce it with a metal object, it doesn't blow up. However, if you're using the lithium ion, if you rupture the battery, you overcharge it, you could have thermal runaway, you could break the system. The only advantage with the lithium ion one is that you could operate in sub-zero weather, which is not quite an issue here in the Philippines. What you need in the Philippines is something which is durable, something which is safe, and is not prone to overheating. So
right. So this is the perfect choice for us here in our hot and humid weather in the Philippines, our tropical weather. So we have a question here from Mr. Ocampo. How many discharge cycles for SMILE5? Iris, I think it's 6,000 cycles. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, exactly. The cycle is 6,000, and we offer a 5 years product warranty and 10 years battery performance warranty for the product.
Okay, so there you go, Mr. Ocampo. That's the answer. It's 6,000 cycles and 10 years warranty for the
battery.
The battery performance, and then 5 years warranty for physical. So similar to the solar panels, where you get 10 years for physical warranty and 25 years for power guarantee. So on these lithium batteries, AlphaESS is giving 5 years on the physical and 10 years on the production.
Okay, I think Lev has a question. What's the price range? It's about $200.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Jade and Mike, for the summary of all the good features of the SMILE5. As Mike is a super technical fan of the technology, and he's actually studied quite a lot and do a lot of research in his home about the system and the performance. As he mentioned, this is quite safe, so you can a lot of the clients actually install the system inside their house. Also, there's another option they can install outside the house as well. So let's continue back to the features. Last but not least, the essential load protected. The SMILE5 is a hybrid inverter with the DC-DC and DC module inside, DC to AC module inside the inverter. So you can connect directly with the PV grid load, as you can see from the diagram here. This is a DC coupling, or we call it a new installation here. So this is basically for anyone who is newly get a solar ESS system, they can install this way. And if they already have a on-grid grid-tie system like the diagram shows here, it's also okay to just add the storage system, and then they can store the extra energy from their PV generation or even from their grid to get into the system. Or if the client prefer or already have a lot more PV panels, they can split the PV panel and install some of the PV to the system directly, like this way. We call AC coupling or retrofit installation. And For all the three different type of installation, we can see we split the load and there is a critical load connected to the system directly. So these are part of the essential load we see that will be protected by our system when grid fails. So when grid fails, that general loads that connected with PV will be disconnected, but all these part of the important load will be powered by our system. Now let's have a look at the running logic. So as we mentioned that the system main feature is to maximize the PV generation. So we want to use our PV generation as first priority to power all our loads. And then if PV is not enough, then the battery will kick in to help PV to power load. But still, if that's not sufficient enough, the grid can also help. So if the load is larger than the PV plus battery, then all the power source, including the PV, battery, and the grid, work together to help to power our load. And when both PV and grid is there, if the PV is same as load or PV is same, if the load is less than PV, let's say, so the PV will go to power load, and if they are extra, it will go to charge battery. And if the PV is not enough, we will see from here, then the battery can help to kick in to power load together. If you have the extra after from PV after your power load and charge the battery, you can choose either feed the electricity goes to grid, or you can just curtail your PV generation to let them just meet the demand. If the load is less than battery, then is equal or less than the battery, then the battery and grid will together to power our load. If there's no grid, as we mentioned, then the normal loads that connect to grid will be disconnected. So at this time, only the critical load will work, and both the PV and the battery can go to power our load. I see some of our audience is raising hand. Just 1 second, let me finish these slides and we will leave a Q&A session for all our audience. So just make a brief summary. What applications for our SMILE5 system? So there are actually 3 types. One is battery ready, which is meaning that you can have an inverter only and then connect with PV grid as an on-grid system. Then in future, you can just simply add this battery module to complete the system. The second one is also the most popular one, is that a new installation DC coupling. That's you have everything together all the time, have your PV, inverter, battery, and with your load grid. The last is the retrofit for clients who already have an existing grid-tied system. Then you add your storage to help to make full advantage of the PV generation. Here are some of the pictures from all our lovely clients all around the world. This includes all the 3 different applications we just mentioned. At the right corner, we see there is an inverter only. That's the battery ready system. Just use it as an on-grid system. Others, we have the new installation with both PV and battery, and the battery capacity can be really different for different clients. You see some, they just have 1 to 2 units battery, some they have the bigger demand of 4 to 6 units battery. And some for retrofit, we can also see some other brand on-grid inverter here. So about the contents we just introduced. If your audience have any question, we can answer the question now before we move to next session, Joe's live installation show.
Yes, if you have any questions, like for the electrical program, or our engineer is here to answer all your technical questions.
Yes, we see some clients raise their hands. Can the SMILE5 run in UPS mode or off-grid all the time? Yes, the SMILE5 can run in UPS mode as we introduced earlier. Yes, so when the grid fails, it's the PV plus the battery. It will work as a similar as an off-grid system. and the whole system is UPS. So meaning the reaction time is quite instant, is less than 20 milliseconds.
Okay, we also have a question here from Adekanmi. He was asking if it's possible to parallel two systems because his off-grid or backup load is larger than 5 kilowatts. Let's say it's 8 or 9 kilowatts. Can he parallel two of them so that it becomes 10 kilowatts? And if not, does Alpha have plans to do this in the future?
Okay, so right now we can parallel two systems when grid is connected, but when grid fails, then the backup or the UPS will be separate but not parallel, meaning that each system we can power maximum 5 kilowatt emergency load. We will consider about the parallel function at off-grid, but right now we don't have the plan yet, because we will consider overall about what solution we can offer for these clients that with bigger than 5 kilowatt backup load clients.
Yes, so for now, the answer would be if you have loads, backup loads that is higher than 5 kilowatts, we recommend you to split it into two separate pods and have two sub-circuits running. Okay.
Okay. I think we can have time for one more question, and for the remaining question that we didn't answer, we will email later to each of the audience. Hi Jade, do you want to choose the last question?
Yeah, if someone already has a 3.5 kilowatt grid tie systems, he would just wants to add Alpha 5 kilowatt SMILE. What's the number of panels to make it work? So I would recommend 2 kilowatts minimum. What about you, Iris?
For that, you definitely know much better about all the installation details. And actually, for our SMILE5, we have a range that is allow for the PV connected, the voltage range and the power range. As long as the panel connected to the system is within this range, then that's fine.
Okay, so
okay, so okay, I think all good for our first session now. Now we will move our camera to Mr. Joe, the head engineer of Solaric. He will bring us a live installation show of AlphaESS. Joe, next to you.
Hello, good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so now we will proceed on the installation of the AlphaSmile. So I'm here with Engineer Raul and JR to show you how to install the SMILE5 inverter.
So Joel, you will be narrating the camera, right? Okay, let's go.
Okay, so now we're here at the Solaric showroom for the installation of the SMILE5. Okay, so we're here with JR, the assistant. We will start with the battery first. So first, we need to start with the battery at the bottom part. Okay, then place it on the desired place. So you need to have a marking already for the wall. We have 3 methods for the installation of the SMILE5. First is the bracket and the mounting. Okay, we already have a marked hole for the bracket of the SMILE5. Okay, first we need to put the bracket of the SMILE5 batteries. And put it on the wall. So may measurement we already made a measurement so that it is suspended on the floor.
So what are we looking at right now?
We're putting the batteries, the two batteries now. So
Joel, are those the 5 or the 10 kilowatt hour batteries? I think
it's the 5.7 kilowatt hour battery.
5.7. Okay.
So
So
we
the
have
10 is much larger, right?
Yes.
So while they're doing that, I'll take the opportunity to answer some questions while setting up that battery. Someone is asking, can they use these batteries with other inverters? Let's say they have an hybrid and their batteries died. They want to buy these batteries. Can it work with their inverter, Iris? In our experience, yes. It does work. So we just need to verify what kind of inverter you have, and we'll take a look to see if there is compatibility. So we've used this with Sunny Islands. We've used this with the Hagrid, Infinisolars. Iris, do you know other brands where your AlphaESS batteries works with that inverter? Okay, we can't hear Iris, but off the top of my head, those brands I mentioned, they actually do work. What's going on with our installs? Our camera seems to have...
We're now on the second battery, and we will show you how to put the pre-wired cable.
The video is gone. Let's wait for Carlo to get his video up going, but while we're waiting, I'll take this opportunity to answer someone's question. Can it accommodate three-phase unbalanced load? So we do not recommend this for a 230-volt Delta grid three-phase. This unbalanced load. So AlphaESS engineering department has already told us they do not recommend this and using it for a three-phase 230 volts Delta situation.
And we have a question from YouTube live stream. Good afternoon, may I ask what's the battery ratings? How many volts, amps? So for battery, we have two types. One is the indoor version IP21. The other type is the outdoor version IP65. And as we have three types of different battery, they have different volts and amps. For example, the one that Joy is installing is the 5.73 kilowatt hour. The voltage is 51.2 volts and 112 amps.
Regarding the compatibility with other inverters with AlphaESS battery, and currently most of our battery is compatible with Goodwill inverter, Goodwill hybrid version or SBP series inverter, battery inverter. In Australia, we have a special mode which is installed with our 10.1 kilowatt hour battery. and do have EMS in the battery, but that battery is only suitable for Australia for now, but the compatibility is done. And for the 10.1, we can install with Goodway, also SMILE5 battery. And for the other inverters in the market, such as Groovolt and SAJ, we're still in the process for the integration.
Hello, can we go back to the installation? Hello. So now we're on the second batteries and the cables of the DC wires. We're now setting the dip switch for the inverters. So as you can see on JR, we have the DC cable at the side of the inverter. You just need to tap it on the side of the inverter of the batteries. So now we're done with the installation of our batteries. We will need to install now the inverter. Okay, LAN cable for the communication of the batteries and the inverter. Okay, putting the cable at the negative side. So there's a marker there that it says it's negative, and use the black cable for the negative wire. So now we were installing the mounting bracket for the inverter. And now we're done with the mounting of the inverter. Carlo, can you show the mounting? Okay, so now we will put the inverter at the top location. The inverter is about 65 kilograms, so yeah, recommended to lift it by 2 people, more than 2. Okay.
We need 4 people in the video because they haven't been working out due to lockdown.
Okay, so that's the cable box. As you can see, it already has a backup breaker, grid breaker, a solar disconnect, and a battery cable. We need to insert at the right side all the AC input, the output, and the PV cables. At the other side, the positive and the negative side of the battery. So it's very easy to install. So now JR will show us the port for the inverters. So that's the side for the backup or the grid, or the AC side. Okay, for the AC side cable, we need to use at least 5.5 mm squared THHN for the cable. Jor, to show it. So the right one is for the grid and the other one is for the backup. Backup means the output of the inverter. It will be the load that will be supported by the batteries during power outage.
As you can see, in about 20 minutes, they already put up batteries, inverter on the wall, maybe another 10 minutes for wiring, for putting the bracket on the wall. So it's a fairly straightforward process to install this. You will need some manpower for the lifting, but aside from that, I mean, you'll see everything is labeled clearly. You can't go wrong with the wiring. Your hands can easily fit, so it's very easy to install this. Right, Joel? You just need some muscles. So, okay.
So now for the LAN cable, for the battery to the inverter.
So the battery to the inverter communicates via this LAN cable he's holding right now.
So that's the BMS. So there's a communication between the inverter and the battery.
And all of this comes from the box. When you open the box,
Yes.
Cables is inside. So battery to battery cable, inverter, the BMS to battery, all of that already comes with it.
Okay, due to the time limit, Joe, can you give us an overall picture of how the system is installed, like from the battery to inverter? Then maybe we will skip the details of the cable installation, and then if audience have questions, we can answer that, then move to the session 3.
Okay. For the system, Carlo, can you show the whole system? We're almost done. We just need to tap those cables. But after that, you can use it already. We can see on the monitoring or on the screen what are the range or the value of the grid, the battery state of charge. Just to show you how to turn it on, we have the PV disconnect. So we need to turn it on first, then the battery, the backup, and the grid. Then that's all. It's already, we finished already installation of our system.
So Joel, we have a question here from Rochester. He's asking, is there any earthing protection requirement?
Yes, we need at least 3.5 mm squared for the earth. We have a slot for the grounding as well.
Okay, so there's a grounding slot right there. Okay, good. And one last question from Lisa Doherty. she is asking what is the amount of power that you're able to draw with one battery. So during an off-grid scenario where you only have one of these batteries installed, let's say that this 5.7, it's a half C, so you can only get 2.5 kilowatts, even if your inverter is 5 kilowatts. So with 2 batteries and above, you can fully take advantage of the entire 5 kilowatts of your inverter. Okay. And maybe this is a question for Kevin. Does the built-in PV disconnect switch also function as an overcurrent protection device or like a circuit breaker? Or is it just disconnect? Is it like a DC breaker or is it just an on-off switch, like an isolator? I think the answer here, Ferdinand Santos, the answer would be it is just like an isolator on-off. It does not have an or fault protection. It's more for manually disconnecting.
Yeah, not for PV
right,
source
Kevin?
Yeah, you are right, Jed. For the MPPT SPD, it is already integrated inside, but for the switch, it's just manually break.
So Kevin, there is a built-in SPD protection device or no?
Yes, integrated inside for both DC and AC side.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so someone did ask that earlier. So yes, there is a built-in AC and DC SPD. So you can eliminate that from your requirement in your DC and AC combiner boxes. So that's good savings too. Someone's also asking about dip switch settings. Get this, your manual will actually tell you what your dip switch settings are, depending if you're just using 1 or 2 or more batteries, right?
Yeah.
So you just read the manual and then it'll say what to do.
Yes. So we also have a question from YouTube. An audience asked, explain what are those 2 wires for and what are they coming from? Where are they coming from? The AC wires that he has just installed into the box. So I see we nearly finished the installation here. Maybe Joe, you can just give a quick answer. What are the outside cables coming?
The AC wires in and out, where are they going to and from, Joel?
Can we show the single line diagram, Iris?
Yes, 1 second.
Okay, so here's our single line diagram. Can you show it? Can you see it? Okay, the AC input is from the main distribution panel. This is the input of our solar panel from the grid, of our inverter from the grid. That's the wire that being attached by JR earlier. Then for the AC output is the load or the backup load to be supported by the batteries during power outage. So it should be less than 5 kilowatt or with a maximum of 5 kilowatts only. Then the PV cable from the solar panels or the solar input. Okay, this diagram is about the hybrid connection. So let's say you have another grid tie inverter already installed in your house, then you need to add the SMILE5. This will be the connection. So for the earlier question, those wire are AC input and AC output.
Hi guys. Joe, could you please just mute yourself? Yeah, sure. Thank you. So this is so much for the installation. We are now moving forward to the next section. We will have a roundtable talk between Kevin and Jade here. They will raise a couple of questions to each other to understand the marketing scale. First, now I have a question for Kevin. Like, how do you think the SMILE5 could benefit clients in other countries in your experience?
Okay. As Iris introduced, our SMILE5 do have two main functions. It's maximum self-consumption and also the UPS. For countries like Philippines, the grid tariff is very high. To store energy, PV energy during the daytime and use the energy, battery energy during the peak hours do make sense to save money. And this is one main application for using such product. And there is another function Iris also mentioned is the UPS. We have many islands. In Philippines, and in remote areas, the grid access is not very stable, and we do face some power cut issue. For countries like Pakistan or South Africa, we have same issues. This is also meant to big market for AlphaESS. So for these countries, we use the systems as UPS. The main inquiry is UPS. And for some new business model like VPP in Australia, AlphaESS also cooperate with VPP contractor and benefit from the new technology. So this is the three main applications that we are using now. So this is my answer for the question.
Okay, great. So we got VPP and other stuff that we made some benefit to clients in other countries. So how about Philippines? So Jay, this is a question for you. So where do you see the Philippine markets for SMILE5?
Oh yes, Mike said he wanted to answer that.
Yeah. Well, the Philippine market is very ripe. We have one of the highest power rates in Asia with our electricity rates around 11 to even 14 pesos per kilowatt hour. I think we're one of the 16 top countries in the world when it comes to electricity rates. And we also have one of the worst service. A lot of our electric cooperatives, especially outside Metro Manila, have rotational power outages or power outages caused by typhoons, earthquakes, storms, or even volcanoes. So does an Alpha make sense? Yes, it makes more sense in a diesel generator because a diesel generator does not produce its own power. An Alpha would allow you to have electricity when your neighbors do not have electricity, especially at times when there's no diesel fuel. The cost of storage or the cost of putting things in battery is already approaching grid parity, meaning it costs almost as much as grid power itself. So this is something that the utilities should be wary about. If they make net metering very difficult, we will just defect and start storing things in Alpha. So that's our warning shot to some forces out there that are trying to hold back solar by restricting permitting. So the answer will be putting in more Alpha systems. I would say it has a good prospect. It's going to be the new normal to be resilient these days, and also to make people basically want independence when it comes to their energy.
Great answer. Energy independence. Yes, that's what we bring it. So I have another question for Kevin and Jay, for both of you. Like, how do you think the installer can do to promote their business with SMILE5?
Well, I would first start off with saying, you know, a lot of people are battery averse because first of all, they have the presumption that, or this firm notion that it's very expensive, it's a high upfront cost. What you can do is, if you're just installing regular grid-tied systems, you can say, why not use an Alpha 5 kilowatt SMILE inverter first? It has great monitoring. You can see your actual house consumption. You do not need to put a battery yet. So you can just start off with that. Later on, the homeowner will probably be tempted to add batteries, you know, next year or down the line. So it's future compatible, and you are just future proofing your solar install. So that's a great start to start using the products and making your installations future proof.
So how about you, Kevin? Your opinion?
A solution with lead acid or other solutions provided in the market. SMILE5 system do friendly with the installer and can easily save time and money for maintenance. And yeah, it will help the business for installer.
So do we have any more questions from anyone? Someone is asking, SMILE versus Tesla.
Tesla, oh yes, Tesla, my favorite company.
Why?
They call the Philippines a minor market that we would not rather support. So I found them to be quite snobs though. But if you were going to order $2 million worth of Tesla, they would be more happy to hear. But if you're talking about a house, they're not going to give us a time of day.
So Tesla has zero support in the Philippines. They don't honor warranties. If you buy it from, let's say, Australia or US and then ship it here and install it, they're not going to honor it. And basically, it's not really available. But how does it compare? Like we said earlier, Alpha uses the lithium iron phosphate, which does really great in our tropical weather here. So it doesn't need cooling liquid. It's not so sensitive compared to even like batteries such as the LG Chem. It's very temperature sensitive. So with the Alpha, we've been using this in Indonesia and Malaysia and in islands off the Philippines, and it's been doing really well. So I would say it's perfect for our country and our weather. Maximum amount of inverter modules allowed to run in parallel.
AC coupled?
AC coupled. There's no maximum. Ferdinand Santos, if it's AC coupled, there's no maximum number of inverters to run in parallel. You can just keep stacking them. Some people are asking for the price list. If you are an installer, an electrician, an electrical contractor, or solar company, or a general contractor, or a 202 graduate, we will send you the price list of these. Alpha will be sharing your email address with us. So you just shoot us an email and then we will reply. Kevin, were you saying something?
Yes. I just want to add some comments about the comparison with Tesla, because Tesla Powerwall 2 only have one module battery, one option, 15 kilowatt hour. For typical house, for small house, 15 kilowatt hour is much more than what you needed. But AlphaESS offer options of battery modules, and all the batteries is in parallel. So you can choose from 2.9 to whatever you want for up to 60 kilowatt hour. So we offer more options on the battery capacity. And there is another thing is the Tesla, they only have AC coupled inverter inside. SMILE5 is a hybrid inverter. You can connect with PV DC directly, but for Tesla, you need to have an on-grid inverter first to transfer the PV DC to AC. So this is another advantage. But for sure, Tesla there is a lot of fans around the world. As Jade just mentioned, the production lead time for Philippines may be an issue.
So I guess we have to wrap this up. It's 4:04. Here are just a couple more questions. Are the battery cables and LAN cables included in the unit? Yes, they are. So all the cables you saw them holding earlier, like those with the RJ45 for the BMS, that is all included and comes in the box. So maybe Kevin, you can answer, what are the electrical safety features installed in the Alpha battery?
Yeah, there's some.
Like the battery, like it won't discharge below 0 to ruin it. What are the safety or the electrical safety features? Temperature Shut down.
So, we have three levels of safety inside the battery module. Firstly, is the battery chemistry. LFP battery is more safety, is more safe compared with other chemistry in lithium market. And there is also safety settings in our BMS. So we do monitor the temperature, the voltage, the current of all the features inside the battery. So when battery reach the cutoff no matter temperature or current or voltage, then BMS will protect the batteries.
We also have a question from YouTube asked, need assistance online monitoring, please, especially how to make your system to be online. So after the system installation done, as Joe just showed in the showroom, and you will need to connect the system with internet. And after you register the installer account online, then you will link your account with the system, then you are able to see the system online. For details, you can check the installation manual and user manual together with the system. So maybe one more question, one final question for our audience due to the time limit.
Yes, we just had the last question come in. Does SMILE5 come with complete documentation like user manuals and diagrams? Yes, it does. But if ever it's missing something that meets your needs, then just let us know and we'll be more than happy to give you a more customized diagram that fits your exact installation. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming to our first Zoom webinar with AlphaESS and Solaric. Iris?
Okay, so it's 4 p.m. now. We have probably exceeded some time here. So this is so much for the webinar we have today. So if you have any other question like you want a price slide, you could just email to Jay. And if you ask for other documentation like the PowerPoint slide we used today or the diagram, you could also email us. Other for some questions that left over that due to the time limits, we will answer each question to you directly through the email. So don't worry. If you want the recording of the whole webinar, we will gonna release the recording in a week because we're gonna do some cutting. So that's all for today. Thanks for coming. Thanks for Sorry, thanks for Jay, for Joe, for Kevin, and for Irish. Wish we could see you soon for the next webinar, maybe. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.